There's a point in your path where personal will can only take you so far. Up to a certain point, effort works, discipline, this is stuff that needs to be cultivated on the path. To do your sadhana, to become aware of the stuff that you might be avoiding, etc. So that drive, that ambition, maybe you're chasing spiritual experiences or whatever it is in the spiritual immature mind that I remember chasing at the beginning. So that push, that drive to refine, to grow, it works, it does work, but it is coming from an immature place. And at a certain point, that well of motivation from that place is going to dry up because eventually something is going to change for you. Because yes, it is true that you are attracting your life experience into you, but there is no manipulation ability or no tool that you can use to bypass the growth that you need to move through for your soul's evolution. So whilst law of attraction is real, you're always attracting. You just can't change that which you're going to attract because you can't bypass that which you need for your soul's growth. There's no shortcutting the lessons that you're here to learn. So cool, now that we know that, you're just attracting the exact curriculum that you need for your soul's evolution. There's no changing that. Good to know. Your karmic lot is your karmic lot. But really, you're just going to be given karmically that which you need to be able to digest into your psychophysiology, into your experiential understanding, to transmute, to transform for yourself, yes, but also for the collective, for the planet. And if you can accept that fact, you can unlock a whole new layer and a whole new level of the path. If you can't accept that fact, your path will proliferate and will continue in the same way that it has been, using the separate sense of self as drive and ambition to try and create the life that you want through the spiritual journey, through the lens of this spiritual materialism that we talked about in the last video. If you haven't watched that one, go check it out. But if you can accept that what you're going to get karmically is what you're going to get, you'll love most of it because you can use it to grow. But if you can accept that, and accepting that is in itself a spiritual rite of passage, but only when you accept that can you begin to see, I think my drive, I think my ambition, I think the reasons why I have been moving and been moved onto this path and motivated to continue moving through this path, all of this effort is coming from somewhere else. That can be a need to prove, this is a big one, a need to become something in life, to make our mark on life. And underpinning all of this is a subtle sense of, well, I'm not good enough and I need to prove my worth and prove my existence. And maybe this belief that if I just do enough purification, if I just do enough sadhana, if I just do enough XYZ on the spiritual path, if I just heal enough, then finally I'm going to arrive somewhere that will be better than here. But in that chase, like a headless chicken, the energy source that you're sustaining that chase from is going to dry up. And the reason it dries up is because it was incredibly inauthentic to begin with. Now, having this realization doesn't mean you're bad, and it doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It doesn't mean you're suddenly not spiritual or whatever the hell that means, or that you failed on the path. No, not at all. It was a necessary stage, seemingly, of the path, but that fuel, that modus operandi can only take you so far. It was never meant to carry you all the way. And this is because it was coming from that separate sense of self, your identity, perhaps, ambition, that's all coming from this separate one that's trying to control and manipulate the world into the way that it wants it so that it will feel safe. This is the agenda of that separate one, as if somehow we have to earn our place in existence. But just check your breath. Life is breathing you. You're not doing it. Your heart is beating. You're not doing it. And the energies or the stillness that you are beneath the mind, underneath the mind, so to speak, has a feeling of support, a feeling of peace, has a feeling of worth that isn't mental. So as we begin to realize that we don't need to prove, and our ambition where we're trying to leave our mark on the world is coming from a separate sense of self that's deeply, deeply insecure as to its true nature, well, we begin to see that we're doing a spiritual journey to reaffirm the ego. Let's say we do get all of the things that we wanted. We'd be reaffirming a separate sense of self in the manifestation of that. And that's not going to be life's plan, because life loves you so much it wants you to be free. But you are so free that you're free enough to bind yourself with these ideas. Now, as this separate sense of self's drive towards the path begins to crumble, because the energy underneath it is also crumbling because you're doing lots of sadhana, and to maintain that separate sense of self's agenda is incredibly energy consuming. As we realize that we don't want the energy going towards that anymore, it can be incredibly unsettling, because what you have to face is, oh gosh, I've been doing this the whole path. It's okay, again, nothing wrong. No energy wasted. No effort wasted either, because it's brought you to this point to have this clear seeing so that we can move forward and go deeper. But for a moment, there might be a time where it almost feels like the engine's been switched off in you, and you might have to go into a mode of deep rest, just for a moment of recovery, to allow this new understanding to come into place. And then we begin to move from a deeper place after that assimilation has happened. And that's where it gets really weird, because it's like, well, if I'm not striving for this spiritual path anymore, if I'm not the one doing it on some level, if I'm not the one who's going to nudge the needle in my enlightenment journey or my spiritual awakening, then what's left? Am I going to become lazy? Am I going to become apathetic towards life? What am I even doing here? But as we move through these other identities that the separate sense of self is trying to bring up to your attention, so that you can go on another separate sense of self journey, an egoic journey in the world, try and create something and inevitably fail or succeed and get stuck in either, because the creation of it came from that separate one. But as those identities begin to dissolve, something else begins to reveal itself, and that's very quiet, but it's peace, it's ease. It's the natural support of existence that you're contained in, and that's felt. We call that stillness. If you don't know how to connect to stillness, jump on my channel. Loads of free stuff on there to be able to help you. Because in your beingness, you were never truly unsafe. The thing that you believed you needed to prove about yourself, you didn't. Your worth was always within. It's kind of funny. You leave your innate sense of security, go off into the mind that feels insecure, and then you go out into the world to try and prove your worth, but the worth was already pre-given. It's a funny turn of events, right? But what's the consequence of this? Well, what you're left with is trust, because you haven't got anything else. You're just abiding as stillness, as presence in consciousness. Does that now mean that nothing will happen with your life? Absolutely not. God won't waste your talents. God needs you. Life needs you. These two words aren't separate. See, what we realize through this process is you don't need to control life for it to unfold correctly. There's an intelligence that's already moving through you that has moved worlds and galaxies and birthed all of this and all of thus. It's us. It's definitely a fantastic intelligence, far greater than our intellect. And as those identities loosen and our control mechanics begin to die from that separate sense of self, we're not chasing purpose anymore as an idea, because we recognize life has its own purpose. I'm just here fulfilling it. Whatever life needs, I'll do. Then we can come into real service, isn't it? Because we don't have a separate agenda about where life must take us based upon our preferences, that we're all just born of the separate sense of self anyway. It's funny, because after I've lost all of these identities over a period of time, I don't even see myself as a spiritual teacher anymore. Like, I often question, am I even in the right gig? Because I just don't identify with that. But people still seem to come, and so then in that way I still play that role, because that seems to be the role that life is having me play right now. So if you're going through a moment where you really don't know who you are anymore, and you think everything's going wrong, it might actually be going very, very right. Because when you stop knowing yourself to be something limited, then that true, unlimited power that you are can nudge you and move you in ways to serve it, yes, which will also serve you because you're it, or because you've become available to something new. You've become present, you've become responsive to the needs of the moment. And from there, because you've done a lot of sadhana at this point, and you've become non-negotiable about your practices, it's not like they're going to stop. You're going to keep moving through them, because even though the path isn't you recognize the path isn't over. There's still something to be gained from being in practice, in connection with life. It's just there's a switch now. Rather than coming to the mat to get something from your yoga, you may begin the switch to come to your mat to give something, to offer something into life, to offer yourself into that flow of meditation, which is life. Rather than coming to take from a separate sense of self, or a nice feeling or something, or a rapturous bliss event, a Kundalini awakening, however you want to see it, you see? But because at this point in the journey, you've mastered yourself to a fair degree, then whatever you're meant to do in this life, life's purpose will manifest through you, and you'll just do it to your great joy. Because there's no barriers in you from the separate sense of self going, oh, I can't be bothered to do that, or I don't like that. They get in the way. Anyway, I hope that helps. That's all I've got for you today. Love you lots.